Some interesting reaction making the rounds after the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, jokingly called the Ninth Circus, struck down Donald Trump and his White House's attempts to strip federal funding from sanctuary cities. But you've got folks on both the left and right side of the aisle who are now saying of this equation that are saying this is going to benefit Donald Trump in the long run. What are they talking about? Well, let's start with, if you are a regular watcher of Fox and Friends, some of you I know are, and I tend to tune in for a while in the morning just to see what they're talking about as well. I probably flip the dial around a little bit to get more of a flavor of what's going on. Andrew Napolitano, Judge Napolitano, is a regular on that program, and he was speaking to the hosts of that show, and he was offering some thoughts on all of this. And this is what I find interesting. He says, essentially, for the American left, this is what is known as a Pyrrhic victory. In other words, it's going to be a very short-term victory for the sanctuary cities following that court's decision.
The president's defeat, if you will, and I go like this in quotation marks, is a temporary one, because in October the new fiscal year kicks in.
All right.
And the new grants will come out, and the new grants will be written by the present Congress and signed by President Trump, and they will have in them the requirement: you want the money, you cooperate with ICE. You don't cooperate with ICE, you don't get the money.
What he's saying is the court ruled saying we already had a decision from the Obama White House and the previous Congress. You can't take that away. So it may not have been as political as it happened to look. But later on, because this program is renewed year by year, if it's written into the new law that you can't get the federal money if you're harboring these fugitives, then it's going to change. The court will basically say, nothing we can do about that. A couple of other points on this coming in today as well. A writer by the name of Chris Aliza, he is a longtime writer at the Washington Post, and he has a column about this at CNN today. He says the ruling from the Ninth Circuit, he said, is a policy setback for the White House, but it's also a huge political gift. There is nothing the Republican base and the bulk of Republican elected officials hate more than what they view as liberal judges run amok. It's the epitome to Republicans of liberals trying to institute their will on a populace without ever letting people vote or have their opinions heard. And the writer says Trump, sensing political opportunity, quickly pounced with a trio of tweets Wednesday. We have a caller, I believe, looking to reach our program. Caller, you're on the air on Top Story on KLIX.
So this could actually come and bite them in the butt. I was just thinking yesterday about this, and what if Trump decided to just do the same thing that they're doing with school vouchers and that kind of thing? What if they say we're going to withhold, or we now have the ability to withhold funding for your schools because you have not complied? Wait, that doesn't work that way, does it? Well, it's all going to bite them in the butt. I went through it in my head. Maybe you can think a little clearer than me, but
no, I think that you're right. There could be some precedent that could be set here, and just a few lines in all of these funding bills could drastically change the equation. So they could start revolutionizing government. Maybe not in the first 100 days, as the liberals think you do, but over the course of a 4-year term, this country could look vastly different by the time Mr. Trump and his allies are done. It's called comeuppance.
So you can no longer base your funding of our schools on what we are doing or not doing. Yeah, it could bite them in the butt big time.
We can only hope so.
It does.
Yeah. Thanks for the call. 736-0300 is the telephone number to reach our program. 736-0300. Then I came across this today. Now, you often wonder if the Republicans have the stones to do something like this. It often seems they don't. But a writer by the name of Zachary Werrell, writing at the Resurgent, Eric Erickson's website, President Trump expressed interest in splitting the Ninth Circuit, but he says, my advice to the president is not to split it, but rather to dissolve it altogether. And you're thinking, how could he do that? Well, by page 3 of this particular post this morning, he writes, we must remember the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals exists solely at the discretion of Congress, An act of Congress created the Ninth Circuit for the purpose of adjudicating on laws and executive actions to ultimately ensure adherence to the Constitution. So the Congress giveth, the Congress can taketh away. Got about 40 seconds. You're up next. You're on the air on KLIX.
I want to know how this works when Obama did the same thing with the schools on a letter, not an executive order, but yet our president signs an executive order upholding a 96 law written in by blowjob Clinton, and they're fighting it. It just doesn't make sense. It cannot come out good for them as long as the Republicans hold a backbone.
Yeah, and backbone's the key. Thanks for the call. You got to. I heard somebody say on Fox, in fact, this morning as I was driving into work, I was listening to Fox News on, well, I don't want to talk about our competitor, satellite radio, but occasionally I tune in. But I was listening this morning driving in, and somebody said, well, you can't dissolve the circuit because the filibuster. Well, the filibuster, to my knowledge, doesn't exist any longer, thanks to the Democrats. And if the Republicans have some cojones, they'll just start saying, sorry, debate's over, job's done.